Well, hi there. This is Brandon from South by Southwest with Radio K with
Chiedu Oraka.
Awesome. And how are you doing? How's South by Southwest been? How's it going?
South by's honestly, it's been such a sensational experience. Do you know what I mean? I didn't think my music would ever take me to a place like this when I first started doing music. This is like a proper bucket list moment. I feel like the Americans seem to have really taken to me, to be honest. I did my first show on Sunday and the reception was like nothing that I've really had before, to be honest. Quite overwhelming. So I'm just soaking it all up and loving it.
And for those who don't know, what is your music like? How would you describe it?
So I always describe my music as UK-based rap sounding music, basically. Do you know what I mean? So UK rap-based music, sorry. That's a better description. UK rap-based music. That's how I describe it.
Awesome. And now, I guess, kind of to get into it, one thing I'm curious about is with your music, I mean, you have, from what I can tell, you have a lot of lyrical themes of, dealing with trauma as you're growing up, kind of going through it. What has kind of been your, what have kind of been the experiences that have led you to those themes? From what I understand, you grew up in Hull.
Yeah. So I grew up in Hull in the UK, which is classed as up north, near places like Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield. So yeah, it's very, very white area, to be honest. Very predominantly white, and not really known for rap music. The rap music predominantly comes from places like London. So the northern experience and the northern stories are not really told that much. So, and especially where I come from, because at least in places like Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, Liverpool, there's actually quite a heavy black community. But where I come from, there's not really a black community. Hip hop and rap music, not really a thing. It's more like guitar-based music. So that has a lot of influence on my music. I feel like I don't really sound like anybody that's out in the UK or actually in the world at the moment. I feel like I've got a very unique story coming from the place where I've come from.
I'm just kind of guessing with this, but is Leeds kind of in the north, kind of industrial, like the rest of it? From my understanding, Manchester is at least used to be like a very industrial area.
Yeah. Well, most of the north is very industrial, very hard-working people. Like I said, I don't come from Leeds. I come from an hour away from Leeds, so it's even more deprived where I come from. We were Hull, where I come from, was known for being a shipping port, so a lot of exporting through the sea, basically. So a very hard-working city, very upfront city, very honest city, but it's what made me the person that I am today.
And what were kind of the experiences, I guess, that kind of that you had there?
I grew up normal, really, but there was definitely some crazy experiences in terms of like I say, I'm a black boy, but I grew up in a heavily white area. The only black kid in my school, the only black kid down my street, the only black kid in my area. Do you know what I mean? So obviously that comes with a lot of struggles. But I don't want to make it sound too negative, because them experiences, the experience that made me the person that I am today. And I'm actually thankful for some of the hardships that I went through. But growing up in Hull, amazing.
And are there any other lyrical themes that you think, I mentioned uplifting and kind of working through it. Is there anything you think that's present in your music other than that, or that you try to work into it?
I feel like being proud of where you come from. Because like I say, where I come from, there's not many positive role models. And for me, having an emphasis on where I come from and showing people, even South by Southwest, the majority of people that I performed in front of, I've never heard of a place like Hull. They don't even know Hull. They only know London, really. A lot of Americans only know London, maybe Manchester, maybe Birmingham, but they don't know anything about Hull. So it's very important for me to represent where I come from, wherever I go.
And how do you do that?
By being unapologetically myself and always shouting about Hull, wearing Hull clothes, so people know I'm here to educate people. Do you know what I'm saying? The talent isn't just in London or Manchester or Birmingham. There's talent all over the UK. So for me, it's important for me to represent my people as well, because there's going to be a lot of young kids that are on my social media, a lot of young kids that want to be a rapper but are not brave enough yet. So if I can act like a catalyst or I can be a role model, then I'm doing my job properly.
And one thing I'm curious is that been something that you've consistently done throughout your music? From what I can tell, you've been doing music now for about 10 years. Was your first song Dumb and Dumber or something?
You've been doing your research. It's not my first song, but it's the first song that I did with my producer, who's with me in South by at the moment, D's Kid. That's the first song I did with him. It's not my first ever song, but that's quite early in the journey. So yeah, I've been doing music seriously. You could say I released my first mixtape in 2011. So it's been, I've been here for a while, man, representing my city. So yeah.
How has your experience with music changed over the past 10 years, if it has at all?
Obviously, it's very social media based now. I feel like when I first started, it was very fan to fan interaction, and it still is that, but you just do it on the internet now. When I first started, I was selling CDs out the back of my rucksack, walking around the town centre trying to sell CDs for £3. Do you know what I mean? And that's changed. Do you know what I mean? Like now it's all about streaming, it's all about numbers. But I'm not really bothered about that sort of stuff. Like if the music's good, the music's good. So yeah, I think it's changed. Some elements have changed for the better. Some I wish that it was still like back in the day.
And have you, with, I think, obviously rap music, it's obviously very much about the lyrics and, the experience with that. I also find it interesting the changes that sometimes occur with the actual backing tracks. Has that changed for you at all? What type of stuff you try to use for your beat? Or
yeah, that's definitely changed. I think like when I first started rapping, I was actually using a lot of American instrumentals that was already out. So my first mixtape, Not Your Average Spitting, Not Your Average Spitting, that's what it was called. It was all over like Nas instrumentals or Jay-Z instrumentals, and then it developed. I found my producers, and the sound just developed from a lot of UK sounding stuff to a lot of universal sounding stuff. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I just have to feel the instrumental. I need to feel the beat, and if I feel it, I'll work with it. But I've got a mixtape coming out called Misfit in April, and I would say that is heavily West Coast, LA, Death Row influence, because that's one of my main influences. I was a big Tupac Shakur fan. I love the whole West Coast, Snoop Dogg and all that. That's probably my happiest times listening to that sort of music. So I've brought that into this new sound that I've got at the moment. So I've actually got a song called Maine, which was sort of inspired by a massive hip hop film called Hustle and Flow, and that was a huge hit for me and my friends. We used to watch that all the time. So I thought, you know what, let me make a song to pay homage to that. So yeah.
Are there any other artists that influenced you other than the West Coast rappers, or?
So growing up, so I'd say like my first introduction to hip hop was definitely the West Coast and the East Coast. They had the West Coast East Coast beef. My favourite rapper is Nas, obviously New York rapper, Queensbridge. I love LL Cool J, big influence of mine, and I really like Skepta as well, who I supported on Sunday at South by. So that was mad. My first international showcase was supporting probably my favourite UK rapper in America. Very random.
Hey, crazy things happen here at South by. I guess then I'm kind of curious, when did you start making your own music, and what kind of got you into it? Because I feel like a big thing, a lot of people listen to music and a lot of people, get into it, but I always feel like there's a jump that kind of happens to actually start making music.
So I've always been an avid hip hop listener. I grew up with a big cousin and my big sister. They were always playing like people like DMX and Tupac. So I feel like I gravitated towards that. When I started making music of my own, it was something that I did not take seriously at all. Like, it was one of my friends, Crafty. He was a local rapper in the area, young, just starting out, and I thought it was really cool what he was doing. So house parties is where I really started rapping. So at the house parties, we used to put on instrumentals, and I used to rap over the instrumentals. And funny enough, when I first started rapping, when I was like 16, I was doing it in an American accent, because I was so used to hearing American rappers. And then my friend was like, mate, like, that needs to stop now. So literally that didn't last very long. And then I just progressed from there, freestyling, started writing songs, started recording songs, and the rest is history.
Awesome. Well, then I guess I'm gonna kind of go scatter around now. But one thing I was curious about is that your producer Dee's kid.
Yeah.
When did your collaboration kind of start with him? Because I think it was back. The song name was Darcy or something like that.
So Dumb and Dumber was actually the first song with Dee's kid. And that was, I think that was 2014, 2013. And I met Dee's kid in England. I don't know if it's the same in America, but we have places like, we call them youth centres, where the youth just go there and express themselves. So it was actually like a youth provision where I met Dee's kid. So he was volunteering there, and he just made beats. And I think he was a fan of mine first, and then he plucked the courage to say, "Oh, Chiedu, I've got some beats. Can you listen to them and see what you think?" So I listened to him. We started forming a relationship, and then he started working at the Warren. And then we recorded Dumb and Dumber. And again, the rest is history because he is part of my collective. We've got a collective called Lockdown. And this was way before the pandemic, basically. And we just became good friends, started working together. And yeah, he created the beat for Darcy as well. Like, Dee's kid is one of the best producers in the world, in my opinion. I'm not even going to say in England, I'm going to say the world. Very talented, very multifaceted in terms of his ear and the sounds that he makes. He makes very different sounding music, and he touches all different genres, I would say, within not genres, different sounds within what we make. So yeah, look out for Dee's kid, definitely.
And one thing I actually learned this just a few minutes ago from Emma, but I didn't know that you were an activist as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really say I'm an activist. I just stand up for things that I believe in. Do you know what I mean? I'm an advocate for the working class in England, the people that have been written off, the people that people turn their backs on. Where I come from, the government don't really care about where we come from. We're the forgotten land. We're very deprived. We're very away from money. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like it's my responsibility with someone who's got a voice to represent those people and give them people a chance and give them people a voice. So yeah, man, definitely.
Awesome. Well, I guess last thing I'd like to ask everyone. I've been interviewing a lot of international artists.
Yeah.
You know, I want the people at home to learn more just about like who are the musicians they should be listening to in the world. So if you could give me 3 recommendations, could be UK rappers, could be around the world. It doesn't even have to be rap. Just 3 people you think the people should be listening to.
So I think the people should be listening to Vital, who's actually performed in South by a couple of times. He's from a place in the UK called Wolverhampton. Very, very sick. I think the people should be listening to a rapper called Chowerman from Essex in like just near London. He's like a grime MC, very, very cold MC. And I think the people should be listening to, I'm going to say Dee's kid. Look out for some of his music when that drops.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been Chiedu Oraka with Radio K Real College Radio.